Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NFL Week 4 edition of the Bacon Bets podcast, and also a Ryder Cup edition of the Bacon Bets podcast. This is Ryder Cup week. So before I get into my NFL picks, I'm going to quickly rip through my picks for this week's Ryder Cup between USA and Team Europe. If you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not, subscribe to the Bacon Bets podcast on YouTube. You'll see I'm wearing my Ryder Cup Bethpage Black hat. First time really a major event, especially Ryder Cup, is going to be taking place at a course I've played multiple times. So it's going to be extra fun for me this week. I'm going to get into my picks for that in the intro. And if you only care about NFL picks for this week, you can go ahead and just fast forward through past the intro. As always, I'll have the timestamp in the description of both the podcast and the YouTube video as well. Now, before I get into all that, I do want to quickly talk about and mention Dave Sharapan, who unfortunately passed away from cancer this week. He was in the sports betting industry. He was an OG. Unfortunately, like I said, passed away from cancer. I didn't know him too well. I don't want to pretend like me and him were friends. I was on a show once, Bostonian versus the Book. He had me on for the Canadian Open this year. Just seemingly just an all-time guy. A guy that I've followed for a long time, a guy that I've always looked up to, and a guy that I wanted and hoped that one day I'd become friends with and get to know a little bit better. Unfortunately, didn't get that opportunity, but just an OG in the business. No one has ever said anything but nice things about him, so rest in peace to him. There is a GoFundMe that I'm going to put in a link to in the description of both the YouTube video and the audio version of this podcast to donate to help support his family. Unfortunately, he leaves behind a wife and 3 daughters as well. So that was heartbreaking news. It kind of broke over the weekend in the sports betting community. So I just wanted to quickly just, take a moment to say RIP. And, my thoughts are with his family. All right, let's get into some Ryder Cup picks. Actually, yeah, let's get into Ryder Cup. We're gonna get into Ryder Cup. I'm gonna handle the golf talk. And then we'll get into NFL, because the start of the road to 272 this year has begun in disaster. But let's start the show with some golf talk here. It is the Ryder Cup. It is Bethpage Black. It is, in my opinion, one of the best. It's definitely a top 5 event to bet on the sports betting calendar. It is now, especially with no match play event for golf, it is the only time that we actually get to really bet on match play, at least for men's. Obviously, it is a team event. It is Team USA. It is Team Europe. You guys don't need me to explain what the Ryder Cup is. You all know about this. I have a list of bets. I'm going to just quickly rip through them. I'm not going to take too much time on this. But Team USA was about a minus 125 favorite all year long. And then about 2 weeks ago, they shot up to minus 145. Team Europe went from plus 140 up to plus 170. I think one of the big reasons why we saw a shift in odds was because a couple of weeks ago, both teams had their kind of final warm-up event. The Team USA did the Pro Core Championship. Almost all the players teed it up there, all of them except for Bryson DeChambeau and Xander Schauffele. And the Team Europe played at the BMW PGA Championship over in Europe as their final warm-up event. And Team USA looked way better in their warm-up event than Team Europe did. Scotty Scheffler won. Ben Griffin came in second. There's a ton of guys who are on the Ryder Cup for Team USA near the top of the leaderboard, whereas Team Europe did not look good at the BMW Championship. Patrick Reed beat all of them. I think the best finish was T5 or T6 by Matt Fitzpatrick. So after that event, I don't know if that was specifically the reason or if just a lot of sharp bettors are betting on Team USA, but after that event, the odds shifted more towards Team USA. I like Team Europe at plus 140. I like Team Europe at plus 170 even better. I'm not letting that final warm-up event for the two teams sway me away from betting on the Europeans. Now, should Team USA be favored? Yeah, absolutely, especially based on the history of home teams at the Ryder Cup. The home team has won the last, 5 Ryder Cups? 4 Ryder Cups? 5? It was the Miracle at Medina when Europe won in the US in 2014, if I'm correct, was the last time that a road team won. So home teams have had a significant advantage in years past at the Ryder Cup. That's a big reason why Team USA is a favorite and a deserving favorite, but I think the number, especially after the recent odds movement, has gotten out of hand. I think you have to kind of bet on Team Europe. Now, my argument for Team Europe kind of relates to 2 big things. Number one, the advantage Team USA has historically had over Team Europe has been their depth. The Americans have always been a more deep team. this year, Europe's roster is probably as deep as it has ever been. I think the bottom guys on Team Europe can go toe-to-toe with the bottom guys on Team USA, both because Team Europe is a little bit more deep, and I actually think the bottom of Team USA's lineup not quite as good as it historically has been. Some guys down there who had definitely a hot end of the season, but not guys that I would necessarily have as one of the most elite golfers in the world right now, like Sam Burns, like Cam Young. So I think this might be the most even the two teams are from the bottom six of the team. And also, the biggest advantage that home teams have is they get to choose the course and they get to design the course to fit their style of play. Now, they chose Bethpage Black mainly because historically, the Americans have a significant advantage with length off the tee. The European golfers are usually more used to playing links golf, a little bit more finesse golf, whereas Americans have been able to just bomb and gouge it. Bethpage Black is a bomb and gouge type of course, but this Team Europe is longer off the tee than I think any other European team has been. Obviously, you have the usual guys like Rory McIlroy and Ludwig and John Rahm, but now Ludwig Oberg is on the team, and actually 4 of the top 7 longest drivers of the golf ball in this event are on Team Europe. So I don't think, obviously the crowd is going to help Team USA, but in terms of the actual style of the course, I don't think it's going to be as big of an advantage for Team USA as it has been in the past. So with that being said, I like Team Europe plus 170 to take down Team USA. The best price on market right now in terms of just picking a winner is FanDuel, from what I can see. That's where that plus 170 number came from. I got a handful of props here as well. I'm going to start with top USA point score. I'm going to go with Bryson DeChambeau at plus 650. Remember, if you're going to bet on a top point score, you want to generally stick to one of the guys at the top of the odds list because not everyone plays the same amount of rounds. Scotty Scheffler is going to play in all 5. He's going to play in both team events on both days, and obviously everyone plays in the singles match on Sunday. Guys who are at the bottom of the team, like the captain's pick guys, they might play, twice, maybe 3 times on the weekend, so they're just not even going to have as many opportunities to get points as the top dogs on each team. So if you're going to bet top point score, generally stick to the top names on each team. So that is why for Team USA, I'm going to take Bryson DeChambeau. Scotty Scheffler has actually surprisingly not had a great Ryder Cup history, just 2-2-3 in the Ryder Cup. Even when the Ryder Cup, even when Team USA won, just smoked Europe at Whistling Straits was it? Last time I was in the US, Scotty Scheffler didn't play that well. So 2-2-3, not a great Ryder Cup history. They may also, because he's so dominant compared to everyone else, they're probably going to pair him up with someone a little bit weaker, if that makes any sense. I'd see him being paired up with maybe Russell Henley, potentially, maybe Sam Burns again. And that could bring down Scotty Scheffler's chances of winning, especially those partnered rounds. Whereas Bryson, I think Bryson is a picture-perfect fit for Bethpage Black. Obviously, he's extremely long off the tee. He's also 3rd in total strokes gained at the Ryder Cup over the past 6 months. And what I mean by that is, of everyone competing at the Ryder Cup, he's 3rd in total true strokes gained over the past 6 months. So I think he's worth a shot. If you don't want to go with the obvious choice in Scotty Scheffler, I think you got to go Bryson DeChambeau at plus 650. My top Team Europe point scorer is going to be Tommy Fleetwood. There's a reason why that song exists. It is from the Ryder Cup, and it's because Tommy Fleetwood has been fantastic so far in his career at the Ryder Cup. 7-3-2 in Ryder Cup history. So don't not bet on Tommy Fleetwood just because he historically has choked on the PGA Tour. He's had ice in his veins at the Ryder Cup the past few events. Now that he does have a PGA Tour win, he might be coming into this week's event even more confident than he has in the past. Now, he has longer odds than Rory. The top 2 options are John Rahm and Rory McIlroy. He has longer odds than Rory, but if you actually look at the metrics over the past 6 months, Rory has gained plus 2.19 true strokes per round. Tommy Fleetwood at plus 2.08. So statistically, he's been almost just as good as Rory over the past few months, but you're getting a guy who he's probably going to play. I would probably say Tommy Fleetwood's probably going to play at least 4 of the 5 potential rounds, and you're also getting much better odds on him as well. Also, Rory actually has not had a great Ryder Cup history, so I'd avoid betting on him to be the top point scorer. Top U.S. wildcard point scorer or captain's pick, whichever you want to call it. For Team USA, I'm going to go with Ben Griffin at 7-1. He might be the most underrated player heading into this Ryder Cup. He's actually 4th on Team USA in total strokes gained over the past 6 months, behind only Scotty Scheffler. You know what? Let me bring it up here. Obviously, Scheffler. Is it 4th Team USA or 4th in the entire Ryder Cup? Data golf. Here it is. 3rd on team. Yeah, is this total strokes gained? 3rd on Team USA. 1, 2. He's behind only Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau for true strokes gained on Team USA over the past 6 months. So Team USA might actually use him more than you'd think, especially coming in as a captain's pick. He's also given Scotty Scheffler a run for his money multiple times this year. I think he finished, twice to Scotty Scheffler this season, at the Memorial and the Pro Tour a couple of weeks ago. And he's also long enough off the tee that he's a solid course fit here at Bethpage Black. So top captain's pick or wild card point scorer for Team USA, Ben Griffin. I think we keep it pretty straightforward for top point scorer amongst captain's picks for Team Europe. Just go with Jon Rahm, because Jon Rahm's probably going to play all 5 rounds. If not, he'll play 4. But he was a captain's pick because he's on the live and because he didn't play so well at the major, so he didn't have very many Ryder Cup points. But obviously, they're going to take Jon Rahm. He is probably the most obvious bet of this entire tournament. Will be Jon Rahm be the top European point scorer amongst captain's picks at plus 145. Second amongst Ryder Cup players in total strokes gained over the past 6 months. Top overall rookie, I'm going to go with Ben Griffin again. This is at plus 380. The only rookies that we have in the Ryder Cup this year are Ben Griffin, Cam Young, JJ Spawn. Only one from Team Europe, Rasmus Højgaard. And is that it? Russell Henley? Did I say Russell Henley? I think Russell Henley is a rookie as well. Let me quickly verify that. I think Russell Henley's the favorite. And I think that's largely due to some rumors that he's going to be paired with Scheffler. But I don't think Russell Henley's a good course fit. He's not long off the tee. And as someone who's played Bethpage Black, you got to be long off the tee. Top rookie point score. Yeah, Henley, Cam Young, JJ Spawn, Ben Griffin, Rasmus Højgaard are all the rookies teeing it up this week. I think Ben Griffin at plus 380 for top USA rookie point score is a pretty good bet. Top overall rookie, it's plus 380 as well. That's weird that it's the exact same odds if you're betting this on FanDuel. So if you're betting on FanDuel, bet the Team USA odds, because you get the same odds with one less golfer than the top overall rookie. So how's that for a little hint? I'm also watching Ravens-Lions Monday Night Football right now. Third quarter, line just tied it up 21-21. A couple of fun bets just to wrap up some Ryder Cup talk here. And these bets aren't available in all states. I know you can't bet on these in New York. You can bet on these at FanDuel in Canada. You might, if you live in a state like New York, you might have to shop around and maybe even see if some offshore books offer it. But FanDuel in Canada has these odds. It is odds to hit the opening tee shot for each team. I took Bryson DeChambeau at 10-1 to hit the opening tee shot. He's now at plus 950. I think that's the obvious choice. Now, Scotty Scheffler hit the opening tee shot for Team USA at the last Ryder Cup, and I see why he would, and he's the betting favorite to do it again this year. But what would get the Americans at Bethpage Black more fired up than Bryson DeChambeau to hit just an absolute piss missile off the first tee? That seems like a great... At 10-1, plus 950 now. It's worth a sprinkle, isn't it? That's how you get the American fans going. Just the first tee shot of the Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black in New York. Get Bryson DeChambeau up there and just smoke a 380-yard drive. Also, this first tee, because the tee box is actually further up than it usually is, because they had to create room for grandstands, some guys are going to take some shots at driving the screen. It's a dog leg, but you can definitely get it over those trees, or at least these guys can. I certainly can. Bryson DeChambeau try to hit the green on a par 4, first shot of the Ryder Cup. Yes, 10-1. I'll take that bet. And then I think you just stay with Rory McIlroy for Team Europe. I think you have to kind of go with the heart and soul of both teams to hit the opening tee shot. Rory is the heart and soul of Team Europe, and I think Bryson DeChambeau, as much as some people don't like him, I think he is kind of the heart and soul of this team, at least from a fan perspective. So I'll take DeChambeau to hit the first tee shot for Team USA. 10-1, it's now plus 950, and I'll bet Rory McIlroy to take the first tee shot for Team Europe at plus 350. There you go. Those are my Ryder Cup best bets. I'm obviously going to have round by round bets as well, but we won't have those for Friday's first round until obviously the pairings and everything are announced. So I'll tweet those out on Thursday. Let's talk, obviously, the road to 272. It has been truly a nightmarish start to the 2025 edition of the road to 272. I don't like being down early in the season, but if you're ever going to have a 3-week cold streak, it's best to get that out of the way at the start, I suppose, because I do still have 15 weeks to make up for it. So this Monday Night Football game is tied, I suppose. I'm guessing the Lions made their extra point, so it's 21-21. If the Ravens cover as favorites at the end of the game, I'll be 7-9. If they don't, I'll be 6-10. So I will be down either 2.5 units or 4.5 units-ish. I will have my official record posted in my written version of the article when that gets posted tomorrow morning, but I'll be down. And I think no matter what, it's definitely if I go 6-10, I'll be down in the red for my career record with the road to 272 for the first time, which is not good. I got to pick things up. I am going to let's just go through and kind of recap, because I got CLV up the ass this week. I had CLV everywhere, and it didn't fucking matter. And all the bets I won, negative CLV, because of course that's the way it works. Now, usually, I'm in a tough situation because I feel like I had some bad breaks, some bad luck go against me, but I can't really complain because I was on the Eagles, which is probably going to be the best beat that you're going to have all season. Obviously, the Rams lining up to kick a game-winning field goal. If they make the field goal, they cover. If they miss the field goal, they cover anyways because they're 3.5-point underdogs, 4.5-point underdogs. The only thing you had as an Eagles bettor was if the field goal was blocked and then returned for a touchdown, and that's exactly what happened. So one of my only wins was from that Eagles blocked field goal in return, but some bad breaks as well. I mean, the Buccaneers were up 2 touchdowns in the fourth. They were driving. They had a chance to kick a field goal to go up 9 to basically secure the cover. That was blocked and returned for a touchdown. So the 2 blocks that were returned for a touchdown, one went for me, one went against me. The over between the Steelers and Patriots looked great. The Patriots just couldn't stop turning the ball over. I had the over in the Cowboys and Bears. Only 1 touchdown was scored in the second half. The Cowboys were in scoring territory 3 times, and Dak threw 3 interceptions in the second half. The 49ers didn't cover because of a safety late in the game by the Cardinals. That sucked. The Packers were winning and covering the entire game, and then they let the Cleveland Browns come back and not only tie up the game, but then end up winning outright. So, I mean, I had some bad lucks, but I also had some terrible bets. The Falcons lost by 30. They got blanked by the Panthers. Terrible bet. The Bengals lost 48-10 to the Vikings. Terrible bet. But I still had some, I think I had some learning points too. That's all you can do. All you can do is learn from it. But yeah, I got CLV in 3.4% in the Cowboys Bears over, 2.4% in the 49ers game, 6.8% on the Bengals, 7.2% of CLV on the Falcons, 16% of CLV on the Raiders, 1.3% CLV on the Steelers and Patriots. All of those lost. CLV is not the be-all, end-all. It does not guarantee that you're going to win anything. Thank God I did jump off the Titans train. Because if I just kept riding the Titans, that would have been another loss. That one wasn't even close. I am proud of myself for learning from my mistakes of the past and finally stop betting on the Tennessee Titans. If you go back now to the start of last year, the Titans have to be like 3-21 against the spread or something like that. 3-20 against the spread at this point. It's crazy. So yeah, we're down. We'll see what the result of this Monday Night Football game is. The Ravens are about to punt, so that's not looking good. I need the Ravens to win by, what do I have them at? 5.5. So I need them to win by 6. So that's not looking good. So I'm probably going to be 6-10 on the week. But hey, all we can do is keep marching on, you know? What do you want me to say? I can learn from my mistakes, trust the process. Hopefully the luck kind of flips back in my favor. And we'll see if I can, at least have let's make the goal for week 4 to be profitable. We're not going to get this all back at once. Let's have a profitable week for the first time this season. It's time to get into it, and it's the NFL Week 4 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. The road to 272 bets marches on. All right, it is time to get into my Week 4 pick, starting with Thursday Night Football in the NFC West between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Give me the Seahawks. Plus 102. Now, those odds have already changed. They're now minus 105, at least at DraftKings, where I bet it at. Let me see the best odds on the board. Do we have any plus money on Seahawks money line anymore? Nope. If you're in Canada, you get Pinnacle at minus 101. But other than that, that current number of minus 102. Minus 102 at FanDuel. But I got it at plus 102 here. Cardinals, same reason why I kind of bet against them last week in a game that I really thought the 49ers should have covered that one. Solid start to the season, respectable start to the season, but still, let's remember they started the first 2 weeks playing against the Panthers and the Saints. So I'm not sold on this team. I mean, they've had one of the easiest schedules in the league to start things out, and they still rank 19th in the NFL in net yards per play at minus 0.1. They're also in the middle of the pack in advanced metrics like EPA. They're 13th in both EPA per play and opponent EPA per play. They should be top 10 on all these metrics after playing against the Saints and the Panthers and a banged-up 49ers team. They certainly should be. Meanwhile, I'm kind of in on the Seahawks. I've changed my opinion on the Seahawks. I thought they were going to stink. I thought Sam Darnold was going to stink. They've impressed me, and their numbers are impressive. 7th in the NFL in net yards per play so far this season. 10th in opponent EPA per play. Their defense has been solid. Sam Darnold, 5th in the NFL in EPA plus CPOE composite. Expected points added. Completion percentage over expected. Number 1 in that category, Jared Goff. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. This is Monday Night Football pending. Obviously, these numbers are from previous before this game started. Daniel Jones, number 3. Josh Allen, number 4. And then our boy Sammy D, Sam Darnold, number 5. So they're impressive. I think they have been much more impressive than the Cardinals have been to start the season. The game is in Arizona. But I like the Seahawks as an underdog there. And the Sharps, at least at the price of plus 102, like them as well. Because, like I said, it's now switched. And they're minus 105 at DraftKings. So I like the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. I've been good with my Thursday Night Football picks the past 2 weeks. I head into Sunday 1-0 in the week, and then things just collapsed for me Sunday afternoon. The early afternoon slate of early Sunday afternoon games have just killed me. Start of the fourth quarter here, Ravens-Lions, 4th and 1 with the Lions in the red zone, deep in the red zone. They score a touchdown here. The Ravens are not going to cover, so this is basically my bet here, so just give me a second. Did hit Rashad Bateman earlier. That was nice, though. Flip to Jahmyr Gibbs. He walks in the end zone. Okay, so that bet is dead. So I've gone 6 and 10 in week. What week is it? 3? 6 and 10 in week 3. Disaster start to the season. God damn it. All right, it's already a grind. The season is already a grind. We're 3 weeks in. All right, moving on to Sunday. We have our first game in Europe. What is it? Is it London is this first game between the Steelers and the Vikings? Give me the Steelers. Plus 2.5. I got a plus 110. You don't normally see a plus juice on a spread, but I bet this at the Score, which is an Ontario sportsbook. That was the best market for me in Ontario, but I like it. Obviously, the higher the number, the better. But at any price on the Steelers, I would just take the points here. In this one, listen, the Vikings dealt with the Bengals. I probably should have saw that coming. That was a bad bet on my part. Jake Browning, even though I have faith in him having to face a very good Vikings defense was stupid on my part. I should have known that they were going to, craft some things up to throw, him completely off. They did. Also, the Vikings are the much better coach team compared to the Bengals. So I think Zach Taylor is the worst coach in the NFL. So that was a bad bet. This week, a little bit different. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be fooled by the Vikings defense, and also Mike Tomlin is just as good of a coach as Kevin O'Connell. Although some people might not agree with that at this point in time, but I certainly think he is. And yes, Carson Wentz was fine last week. He did what he had to do, but we will get a Carson Wentz start before JJ McCarthy comes back. We're like, oh, that looks bad, and I think that's going to be this week. I think the Steelers defense can kind of get to him. And also the Vikings, yes, they are 2-1, but they are 28th in the NFL in EPA per play. Their numbers are not nearly as good as kind of the public perception of that team. Aaron Rodgers, though, for the Steelers has been solid at quarterback. I think Mike Tomlin's going to have a good plan for this Vikings team, game plan to face this Vikings team. So I will take the points, especially with weird things happen in London games and Europe games. I generally just like to take the points. A lot of people are going to go under. The total's at 41, though. That's super low. I did consider it, but just a little too low for me. I will take the Steelers plus 2.5, plus 110 in London. I think it's London. It's Europe somewhere against the Vikings. Chargers and Giants. This is a game, if I wasn't doing the show, if I didn't do the road to 272, I would wait because it looks like the Giants might make a switch at quarterback, and if they do, even if they start Jameis or Jackson Dart, this spread is going to come down, I think. But I don't know. I have to assume they're going to start Russell Wilson at this point of the week, so I will take the Chargers minus 5.5 because I will not bet on Russell Wilson. I don't care that he threw for 450 yards against the Cowboys secondary a couple of weeks ago. His Chargers team is impressive, by the way. One of the more impressive teams in the NFL so far this season. 11th in EPA per play, 7th in success rate, 4th in opponent EPA per play, and 1st in opponent success rate. And it's not like they've had an easy schedule. Chiefs to start the year, Broncos, 2 of their 3 first opponents have been playoff teams from last year. All 3 of them have been divisional games. These have not been easy matchups for the Chargers, and they not only have gone 3-0, but their metrics are very good through those 3 games. Now, yes, this game is on the road, it's on the opposite side of the country, but they get to take on a Giants team that is just abysmal. Giants ranked 29th in opponent EPA per play, 31st in opponent success rate. I am starting to feel bad for Giants fans. I didn't feel bad for Giants fans for a while because they've had 2 Super Bowl wins in my lifetime. They have one of the most exciting Super Bowl wins, beating the undefeated Patriots in 2007. But their team has now been so bad for so many numbers of years. And not only bad, it's like boring bad too. Like their games are just a tough watch. I'm starting to now feel bad for Giants fans. Oh, God, are their games bad to watch. Although, I mean, the game against the Cowboys is fun. This Sunday Night Football game against the Chiefs was tough, though. Also, the big thing about the Chargers that I've noticed so far, and I think this is an area that they were really good in last year as well, was their red zone defense. They're first in the NFL in red zone defense. They've given up a touchdown on just 25% of opponents' red zone trips against them. That's the best mark in the NFL. If the Giants can't convert any red zone trips they get to touchdowns, they're not going to win this game. They're not going to cover this game. I will take the Chargers minus 5.5, minus 115 against the New York Giants. The New England Patriots against the Carolina Panthers. A couple of great buy low, sell high spots this week. This is one of them. Buy low on the Patriots, sell high on the Panthers. I guess I'll talk about the Panthers game a little bit later when I talk about the Falcons. But the long and short of it is the Panthers are not nearly as good and didn't play nearly as good as that final score looks like against the Falcons, 30-0 last week. I think the Patriots are actually the far superior team in this matchup. And I don't think the Patriots are as bad as their record shows, 1-2. Both their losses have been single-score games, and also they rank 15th in EPA, 21st in net yards per play. Those numbers aren't great, but they certainly look pretty good against the Panthers, who are 30th in net yards per play, minus 1.4, 22nd in EPA per play. Yes, they have the same record. Yes, one team's coming off an ugly loss while the other team's coming off a great win. But if you look at the underlying metrics, it's clear the Patriots are a step above the Panthers. They're at home. I think they win and cover this 5-point spread. I think it's actually 6 at most places. I found a Canadian book, Bet99, that had it at 5. Let me take a quick look to see who has the best odds now for Patriots. Yeah, the best number anywhere now is 5.5. You can get, it's 5.5 almost everywhere. So you can get a 5.5. That's only 5 point. That's only half a point worse than what I got of that. So obviously, I like it at anything up to 6, probably even 6.5. It gets to 7, obviously not, with that being a key number. But I think the Patriots take care of business, and I think this is the first week that we look at the Patriots and we're like, oh yeah, like they're not great, but the Patriots, I still think at the end of the regular season will at least be in the conversation for a wild card spot. So give me Patriots minus 5, minus 110. Just trying to keep an eye on this Ravens game. I shouldn't have hope, but I kind of do. They definitely have to score a touchdown on this drive, though. Those are the first 4 picks. Let's move on to the Buccaneers and Eagles. This is another, maybe not a buy low spot, but this is a sell high spot. I'm selling high on the Eagles. I'll give the Eagles a little benefit of the doubt. They've had a little bit of a tough schedule to start the season. I mean, the Cowboys not exactly tough in week 1, but the Chiefs in week 2, the Rams in week 3. But I'm going to raise a little bit of a red flag about this Eagles team. Let me list off some stats. 27th in the NFL in net yards per play. They have a net yards per play of minus 0.9. That is one spot below the Raiders. That is one spot above the Bears. So I know, and I say this all the time, if you've listened to this podcast over the years, you're sick of me saying net yards per play. It does not take into account things like third down percentage, which obviously the Eagles are great at. It doesn't take into account turnovers. It doesn't take into account necessarily red zone efficiency. But if the main goal of football is moving the ball down the field and preventing the other team from doing so, they're sandwiched between the Raiders and the Bears in doing that. Their offense is 12th in EPA per play. Their defense, 18th in opponent EPA per play. That's concerning. Now, they might be able to turn things around, but we're deep enough into the season now. We have 3 weeks of sample size, 3 games of sample size. There's enough there for me to kind of use the metrics to judge my picks off of. And those are some concerning metrics when it comes to the Eagles. But the most concerning thing might be, I think the Buccaneers have a huge stylistic advantage. Now, I do want to take a quick moment to recognize the Buccaneers have some injury issues. Mike Evans is out now. The receiving core might be completely depleted. Their offensive line is in tough shape. But the Buccaneers' run defense is going to be the difference maker in this game. We know the Eagles live and die by running the football. They run the football in 54.1% of plays. That's first in the NFL by like 2%. Now they have to take on a Buccaneers run defense that ranks 5th in opponent yards per carry, 1st in opponent rush EPA, and 2nd in opponent rush success rate. And they've played some teams that are good at running the football, like the Atlanta Falcons. So this Buccaneers defense, I talked about it last week before they took on the Jets. This Buccaneers defense is very good at stopping the run. If anyone can slow down the Eagles' run game, they have a chance to not only cover, but potentially beat the Eagles. With that being said, with the spread at 3, I will take the field goal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Commanders and Falcons. I got 2 upset picks this week, and this is one of them. Give me my Falcons, baby. Now, I said I was going to talk about the Falcons-Panthers game a little bit more. That was ugly. That was a terrible performance by Michael Penix Jr. There's no getting around it. That was a terrible performance by the special teams. The returner can't catch a ball. Their kicker, who went 5-5 the week before, missed 2 early field goals. That kind of took us out of the game. Michael Penix threw back-breaking pick 6 to he just handled it basically to the other team. That was an F performance by the Falcons. Those games happen. Those games especially happen to young teams. Those things especially happen to young quarterbacks. I am not sounding the alarms about the Atlanta Falcons. I am not changing my perception of this team. Now, the fact they fired their receiving coach, the fact their offensive coordinator is coming from the booth down to the field moving forward, a little concerning. That shows me there's a little bit of panic in the locker room. But still, there are some things to be excited about for this Falcons team. They still, in that loss to the Panthers last week, it was probably the least lopsided 30-0 win of all time. The Falcons outgained them. Yards per play, 0.9 yards, more yards per play than the Panthers. Almost a full yard more per snap the Falcons averaged than the Panthers. They also enter the week 4 of the NFL, 7th in the NFL in net yards per play, plus 0.8 overall through the first 3 weeks. Their defense still ranks 5th in opponent EPA per play. Let's not panic with the Falcons. The underlying metrics are still there. Michael Penix had a bad game. Young quarterbacks are going to have bad games. That was his 6th NFL start? Let's relax. Let's relax. Don't overreact. Don't overreact to a 1-game sample size. Teams play bad games. Just look at the Detroit Lions, who just got smoked in week 1 by the Packers. Now, obviously, getting smoked by the Packers and getting smoked by the Panthers is 2 different things. But then they bounced back by killing the Bears, and now they're probably going to beat the Ravens here in this game, who have a 3rd and 13 and have to convert this somehow, or else I 100% lose my bet. Drops back. Lamar Jackson avoiding sacks, running around, looking for a man downfield. Can't find anyone. Avoids, someone got him by the shoelace. They'll have to kick a field goal, which effectively makes me lose Monday Night Football bet. Back to the Commanders and Falcons. The Commanders still likely without Jaden Daniels. I mean, I think it's likely. But if this line if they start Marcus Mariota quarterback and they're 3-point road favorites against the Falcons, come on, man. you can keep your points. Now, if Jaden Daniels comes back, it's going to be rough. I'm not going to love this bet. But I'm assuming Marcus Mariota starts on the road against Atlanta, a team that still, their underlying metrics are still very good so far this season. I trust my Falcons. I'm not overthinking that bad loss. I'll take the Falcons plus 130. Next up, we have the Lions. So I bet I'm going to start actually doing this moving forward. I can't just stay up late and wait for all these games to finish before I lock in my last few picks. So moving forward, I'm going to lock in bets involving teams that play on Monday Night Football before Monday Night Football happens. If I bet on a team and their player gets hurt the next week, or if I bet on a team for next week and their star quarterback gets hurt, I just have to live with that. I can't not bet on 2 games until the odds get posted after the game, because I dealt with that last week, and the Texans Buccaneers game, the odds for their games didn't get posted till the next morning. So to get this out, I have to make my picks. So from now on, I'm just going to make the picks for all the games, and if something crazy happens on Monday Night Football that changes the odds, I just have to live with it. So with that being said, I'm going to bet the Lions minus 8.5. I'm going to assume that over the long run, the amount of times that works against me will even out with the amount of times it works in my favor. I'll take the Lions minus 8.5 here, who will still be probably around that number unless, Jared Goff gets hurt on their next drive here. But the Browns are atrocious. The Browns kind of remind me of what the Saints were last week. Remember last week with the Saints, I said, this is going to be the week that people realize, oh yeah, right, the Saints suck. And that's kind of what happened. The Seahawks beat them by 1,000,000 points. I see this week is the week that we're all like, oh yeah, right, the Browns kind of suck. Because they're coming off the win against the Packers. They hung around against the Bengals in week 1. People are going to be like, oh, the Browns defense, they're not that bad. They could, take the Browns and the points. Their offense is 29th in success rate, 30th in EPA per play. And they're on the road in Detroit. Their offense is going to have to do something to keep up with this Lions offense, and I don't think they got it in them. So I'll take the Lions minus 8.5, minus 110. Titans and Texans. I'm not going back to you. You think I'm going back to the Titans? Not a chance. It felt so good to not fall for the Titans trap last week. Give me Texans minus. I got a minus 6.5, minus 120. I think it's 7s across the board. There is still a minus 6.5, minus 120. Where did I bet it at? I bet it at the score again. So that I don't think that line's going to be available for you and you people in the U.S. It's mostly you're going to get 7s across the board. I like it at 7s. I would try to jump on a 7 before it moves to 7.5. The Titans are horrific. Last year, I could convince myself to bet on the Titans because their underlying metrics, were actually pretty good outside of special teams and turnovers. This year, not the case. Dead last in the NFL at minus 2.5 in net yards per play. That's minus 1.1 worse than the next worst team. They're also 31st in EPA per play, 31st in success rate, 30th in EPA per play, 29th in opponent EPA per play. They have a bottom 3 offense, a bottom 3 defense. Their offensive line is abysmal. Now they got to take on one of their best pass rushers. Their offensive line is getting up 5 sacks per game. I think they're on pace to set the record for the most sacks ever given up in an NFL season. And now they have to take on a pretty good pass rush in the Texans. That's terrible news for the Titans. So I know the Texans are 0-3. Their metrics are middle of the pack. I think they're better than the record has shown. Their offense definitely has to pick things up, but they should against the Titans defense here. So I'll take the Texans. I got on a minus 6.5, minus 120. Try to get a 7 if you can. All right, we're halfway through the games. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll come back with the second half of my picks and my best bets and teaser and survivor and all that stuff. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, let's keep things moving with what might just be the biggest favorite of the entire NFL season. The Bills, 15.5-point favorites against the New Orleans Saints, and I'm not afraid of that spread. I will lay the points with the Bills. Last week, heading into the game against the Seahawks, I said this is going to be the game people are going to remember. The Saints are probably the worst team in the league, and they certainly did. Seahawks won by, 40 points, 35 points? And the Bills are much better than the Seahawks, and the Bills are at home. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about this one. I mean, I could list off stats, but the Bills are going to rank near the top in all of them. The Saints are going to rank near the bottom in all of them. It's just basically, this is just a coin flip. Do you think the Saints are good enough that they can cover this big spread? Do you think they can get something going on offense? Do you think maybe they can force some turnovers on defense? I don't know if I can trust in the Saints. Now, I trusted in the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football last week because the Dolphins do have some talent. They can score. They can move the ball downfield. You know, they have some players. They have Devon Achane. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. They have Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins have some issues. They have a lot of issues. But at least you can make a case for, hey, this team at least offensively has enough talent to be able to score some points, to be able to keep this game within double digits. The Saints have nothing. They have Spencer Rattler. They have a 45-year-old Alvin Kamara. They have Chris Olave, who will probably get hurt at some point after going to the medical tent. So I just don't know how... I mean, the Bills would have to have... You'd be banking on the Bills having like a D game or a C game at worst or at best for the Saints to be able to cover the spread. So I have no interest in doing that. I can make the case for other teams. I cannot make the case for the Saints. I will take the Bills minus 15.5 at minus 110. The Colts and the Rams, one of the more fascinating games of this week, because at some point we need to figure out how for real this Colts team, and I don't know if the betting market kind of knows yet, because the Colts are 3.5 point underdogs against the Rams. It is in LA. It is a road game. And you guys know, I am the king of pointing out fraudulent teams who are not as good as the record. I can't say that about the Colts, who are 3-0. And I tweeted this out. I tweeted out the chart here between passing and rushing efficiency, so just overall offensive efficiency. In the top right hand of this graphic, you have the Bills, you have the Ravens. No one is surprised by that. And then right in that corner, separate from the rest of the NFL, is the Colts. It's crazy. They've punted, I think, twice all season through the first 3 weeks? Like, it's not just that they're 3-0. It's not that they're just 3-0 and they've won those games, at least 2 of those games comfortably. They're 3-0 with the best offensive metrics in the NFL and very good defensive metrics as well. So at some point, you just have to tip your cap and be like, man, this Colts team just might be good. We just might have to accept that this Colts team is good. The betting market has shown to me if they're 3.5 point, especially over that magic number of 3, if they're this big of an underdog on the road to the Rams, they're not fully bought in yet. I have no choice but to be fully bought in. And now I'm at the point where until they prove me otherwise, I'm going to be bought in on the Colts. They're second in the NFL in net yards per play at plus 1.6. They have a lot of, to be fair, the Rams have very good numbers so far to start the season as well. I am not going to apologize for my preseason Rams take yet because they didn't cover against the Eagles. That blocked field goal really helped me out with that one. But yeah, the Rams have very good numbers. So do the Colts. But I mean, with a game between two teams who have very similar metrics, and one of them is getting 3.5 points, I will take the 3.5 points. I will believe in the Colts at least one more week. Plus 3.5, minus 104 on the road against the Rams. I'm going to continue to believe in the 49ers, who this season has been almost an exact copy of last season, where they're getting terrible injury luck. They have lost several guys, but yet they're still performing at a pretty high level. A lot of their advanced metrics are still very good in the top 10 of the NFL. For example, 5th in the league in net yards per play at plus 1.0. Mac Jones is kind of serviceable. He's around middle of the pack in terms of all the quarterback advanced metrics. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence, 30th in the NFL amongst all starting quarterbacks right now, in EPA plus CPOE. Only Cam Ward, Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy rank worse than Trevor Lawrence so far in EPA plus CPOE composite. That could go bad against a team as coached as well as the 49ers. Now, the 49ers keep shooting themselves in the foot late in the game so they don't cover. I hope they don't do that in this game. It'd be nice if they don't give up a safety to kind of kill their chances of covering. But enough of the metrics are there for me I still believe in the 49ers. I'm not yet sold on the Jaguars. I need to see more from Trevor Lawrence before I'm sold on the Jaguars. I'll take 49ers minus 3.5 plus 101. The Ravens and the Chiefs, let's see what this opens up as after the Lions beat the Ravens. Maybe you'll get a better number tomorrow. But I will take the Ravens minus 3, minus 102 against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens are about to lose this game. I am still firmly confident that the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. I know that's crazy to say that about a 1-2 team, a team that has not found a way to beat either the Bills or the Lions, but I still think this is the best team in the NFL. The Chiefs are a shell of for themselves. I know they look better in the second half against the Giants, but still, One good half against the New York Giants is not enough for me to say the Chiefs are back. They still look tired on the field. Travis Kelce's yelling at Andy Reid. He's yelling at his teammates. Defensively, last year their offense wasn't explosive, but their defense stepped up. Their defense, not good this year. 22nd in opponent EPA per play, 24th in opponent success rate. If they don't have a good defense and their offense can't find their mojo, this Chiefs team is going to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying that's going to happen yet, but only a 3-point underdog against a team that I still think is the best team in the NFL, the Ravens. I will lay the field goal with Baltimore 10 times out of 10 in that spot. So give me the Ravens -3, -102. If the Lions are going to win, at least I need Jahmyr Gibbs to get a few more carries here, because I did bet a little there, and that should be enough there. Okay. Because I have Jahmyr Gibbs over 80-something and a half rushing and receiving. I think that carry took him over. Okay, let's move on to the Bears and the Raiders. The Bears, the Raiders. I'm going to take the Raiders in this one. Another great sell high, buy low spot. I think we're buying low on the Raiders. I think we're selling high on the Bears after they beat a Cowboys team. Basically, the way I'm looking at this is, if you look at all the metrics, they're actually very similar to each other. This is, in my opinion, a true coin flip game. And the odds are set as a coin flip, but they're set as a coin flip with the Raiders being the home team. Which leads me to just take the home team. You know what I mean? Like, if this is a coin flip and the odds are set as a coin flip, then I think this game in a neutral field should be a coin flip, but it's in Las Vegas, if that makes any sense. A lot of very similar metrics. Even quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Caleb Williams, they're 18th and 19 in EPA plus EPOE composite. So a lot of the underlying metrics for the quarterbacks have been similar through the first few weeks. The Bears' secondary is what's going to lose in this game. 24th in opponent dropback EPA, 26th in opponent dropback success rate, 28th in opponent yards per pass attempt. They're giving up 8 yards per throw. I know Geno Smith has not looked good the past 2 weeks, but I think he's going to have a bit of a bounce back performance against this Bears secondary. So I will take the Raiders -105. I got them as a very, very slight underdog. -105 against the Bears. Packers versus Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. This Cowboys secondary might be the worst I've ever seen. Oh, man. They let Russell Wilson throw for 450 yards. They let Caleb Williams throw for 298. They have faced... So through the first 3 weeks, they faced Jalen Hurts, who, yeah, he's a good quarterback, has a good arm and all that, but he's not like the best pocket passer in the NFL. And then they faced Russell Wilson and Caleb Williams, two of the worst starting quarterbacks. And with those 3 first quarterbacks that they faced, the Cowboys defense ranks 31st in opponent dropback EPA, 27th in opponent dropback success rate, dead last in opponent yards per pass attempt. They're giving up 9.4 yards per throw. That's the most in the league by almost a full yard, 0.8 yards per throw. Now they have to face by far the best throwing quarterback that they've had to face so far this season in Jordan Love. I know the Packers receiving core is a little bit banged up with Jaden Reed out. But listen, if the Cowboys are going to let Russell Wilson throw for 450 and Caleb Williams to throw for 298, the Packers offensively are going to do what they want to this Cowboys defense. So for the Cowboys to cover, they're going to have to score almost every time that they touch the ball. And I don't think they can, because the Packers defense is fantastic. 3rd in opponent EPA per play, 2nd opponent success rate. So I think this is going to be a blowout. I think we're getting a little we're benefiting a little bit from the Packers losing to the Browns. I think if the Packers beat the Browns, and especially if they cover, this line is at over a touchdown. So I will take the 6.5 with the Packers. -6.5, -110 against the Cowboys. Monday Night Football, just an all-time ugly back-to-back doubleheader. I mentioned earlier I'm on 2 upset picks. Give me the Jets to upset the Dolphins. Who gives a shit about this game? 2 terrible teams. For some reason, I know the Dolphins are at home, but for some reason they're like a 2.5 point favorite. These teams suck. I just realized my notes, instead of writing AFC East matchup, I wrote AL East matchup. I still got baseball on my mind. Especially Blue Jays. But yeah, I mean, a lot of their metrics are actually pretty similar. They both have a net yards per play of -0.7. They're 23rd and 24th in EPA per play, 28th and 32nd in opponent EPA per play. So this is much like the Raiders and Bears being a coin flip game. I think this is a coin flip game. Now, I think 2.5 is too heavy for a Dolphins home field advantage, especially in a night game. I think the home field advantage for the Dolphins should be like 1.5. So I think we're getting like a point of value here. And with this just being what I think is like a coin flip game, just give me the team that's get plus 132 on the money line. I think there's some slight value on the Jets. So also, I mean, I don't like playing armchair psychologist, and I've tried not to kind of fall for this before, but the Dolphins locker room is going to implode. They're on the brink of collapse, and now that they're 0-3, they're coming off a big loss to the Bills. You have to admit the locker room vibes have to be better on the Jets. The Jets who have a new coach, they're kind of, you know, they like the direction they're heading in. The vibes seem to be a little bit better, whereas the Dolphins are like, the team's about to collapse in on itself. So I know that's obviously subjective. You can't really measure that. I don't really like doing that. I like to stick to things I can measure. But you have to admit there is something going on there with the Dolphins locker room. So I will take the Jets road underdogs in the first of 2 Monday Night Football games plus 132. And then I'll wrap things up with the Broncos -7 against the Bengals. I got a little cute last week picking the Bengals. And what I said earlier, what was my lesson? Jake Browning against a very good defense on the road against a very good head coach. That's on me for trusting the Bengals. Now they're in basically the exact same spot. They're once again on the road. They're once again against a very elite defense in Denver, one of the toughest places to play at elevation. The Broncos are going to have by far the better coach. I will lay the points with the Broncos. It's really that easy. The Bengals are now 31st in the NFL in net yards per play. The only team that's worse than them in net yards per play is the Titans. 21st in opponent EPA per play. Last in EPA per play offensively. We need to start treating the Bengals like they're a bottom 5 team, especially with Joe Burrow out. So because of that, I will take the Broncos. I will lay the 7 points with the Broncos on their home field in the final game of NFL Week 4 as the Lions clinch that game with a first down. That's a flag. Could be against the Lions. I mean, it's a 7-point game with a minute and a half left. It's over. So I'll be 6-10 in Week 3. Oh, God damn. All right. Adversity. Those are my picks for Week 4. Let's recap them quickly. Then I'll give you my best bets, my survivor, and my teaser. So next week, I got Seahawks plus 102 against the Cardinals. I got Steelers plus 2.5, plus 110 against the Vikings. I have the Chargers minus 5.5, minus 115 against the Giants. I have the Panthers minus 5 against the... I have the Patriots minus 5 against the Panthers. I have the Buccaneers plus 3, minus 106 against the Eagles. I have the Falcons plus 130 on the money line against the Commanders. I have the Lions minus 8.5 against the Browns. I have the Texans minus 6.5, minus 120 against the Titans. I have the Bills minus 15, minus 110 against the Saints. I have the Colts plus 3.5, minus 104 against the Rams. I have the 49ers minus 3.5, plus 101 against the Jaguars. I have the Ravens minus 3, minus 102 against the Chiefs. I have the Raiders on the money line minus 105 against the Bears. I got the Packers minus 6.5 against the Cowboys. I have the Jets plus 132 against the Dolphins, and I have the Broncos minus 7. David Montgomery just scored a touchdown. I have the Broncos minus 7 against the Bengals. All right. The road to 272 survivor pool, 36 entries. We finally had a couple upsets. The Falcons losing eliminated, I think, 10 people, and I think the Packers losing eliminated 14 people or 12 people, and then I think 2 people were eliminated. Actually, I have it right in front of me. Let me just take a look here. The Packers eliminated 13 people, the Falcons eliminated 10 people, and 1 person was on the Cowboys. So, we have 36 entries have been eliminated so far in the road to 272 survivor pool. I am still alive with my Buccaneers. Just pulled through for me last week. 127 entries left. My pick for this week, the obvious pick is going to be the Bills. That is going to be the most popular pick by a pretty significant margin. I'm not necessarily being contrarian because I'm going to get off the Bills and hope the Saints can upset them because the Saints will not win that game. That'd be crazy. But I was looking in a few weeks. I think it's even in 2 weeks' time. There's not very many good options, and the Bills take on the Falcons. So the Bills will beat the Falcons by 1,000,000 points. So I need to save the Bills because there are some other decent options this week. I think I'm going to go with the Texans. That is going to be probably my pick in the road to 272 survivor this week. There's not going to be any other opportunity, I don't think, to take. Let me actually take a look at the Texans schedule. They're obviously at home to the Titans. It's a little bit of a contrarian pick. No. home to the Cardinals, maybe if they turn things around, home to the Raiders in week 16. No, this is kind of really this is by far, home to the Titans is going to be the best and really only chance to take the Texans this season. So I'm going to try to get a little cute. Hopefully Cam Ward doesn't screw me over here and have, his first good game of his NFL career. But I'm going to take a chance on the Texans in my pool. I think in some other entries, I think I will just take the Bills and just live to fight another day. But I will take in the road to 272. I'm gonna lock in the Texans this week. Texans at home to the Titans is my pick for this week for Survivor. There are obviously some other ways you could go with it. You could go with, let me just bring up the odds for this week in Survivor. You could go with the Bills, as I mentioned. You go with the Chargers on the road to the Giants, but if Russell Wilson starts, that's certainly a good choice. I'd rather stick with the home team, but if you want to go non-divisional, you could go Chargers against the Giants. You could go Patriots at home to the Panthers. Is not a terrible look. Not many chances you're going to take to use the Patriots. Packers on the road to the Cowboys, yes. I think there's going to be better chances to take the Packers. So, if you want to just live to fight another day, take the Bills. If not, either take the Texans or take the probably the Chargers would be the other team that I would target. But there you have it. Let's actually my 5 best bets for this week. I'm going to go Patriots to cover against the Panthers, Falcons to cover against the Commanders, Colts to cover against the Rams, Ravens to cover against the Chiefs, and Jets to cover against the Dolphins. Those are my 5 pick 'em pool picks. Once again, Patriots, Falcons, Colts, Ravens, and Jets all to cover. My teaser of the week. It's the only thing that's going well for me. 3-0 on the teaser so far this season. And this past week, the teaser actually wouldn't have won if you just bet the spreads because the Patriots lost by 7. Lamar Jackson just got sacked for like 50 yards. I took the Patriots lost by 7, and for the teaser of the week last week, I teased them up to 7.5 against the Steelers. So that's perfect. So last week it was Patriots from plus 1.5 up to plus 7.5. That got in for us against the Steelers. And it was the Seahawks down from 7.5 down to 1.5 against the Saints. We didn't need that, but it worked nonetheless. My pick'em for week 4. Let's see if I can stay undefeated. Or no, sorry, not my pick'em. My teaser for week 4. Let's see if we can stay undefeated with these. I'm going to take the Chargers down from -6 against the Giants down to a pick'em. That gets them off a secondary key number of 6. That crosses the primary key number of 3. So that is a pick'em against the Giants. And then we're going to go Steelers up from plus 2.5 against the Vikings up to plus 8.5 against the Vikings. That crosses key numbers of 3, 6, and 7, and even gets us to 8, which is kind of like a tertiary key number, I would say. So Chargers down from -6 to a pick'em. Steelers up from plus 2.5 to plus 8.5. That's my teaser of the week. That's the week 4 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. Enjoy the Ryder Cup this week. Best of luck. Gamble or bless. The road to 272 bets marches on.